All right, another week around the trash fire. Your host Matthias, along with the boy.
John,
Well, John, we did it. We made it through a hurricane here in California.
we did.
Yeah,
It was not as crazy as anticipated, which is good. Which is good.
true. We wouldn't want an actual hurricane to hit us,
Yeah.
but a little disappointing to say, but a fun experience nonetheless. But we got that going. It's also some Warhammer news we get to talk about today, as news is starting to finally get a little back on schedule here. Last 2 months, ever since 10th edition came out, the Warhammer news has been quite slow.
I mean, yeah, we haven't had anything new released for 40k or AOS since Leviathan. And I mean like a new model. We've had reboxes, new starter sets, kill teams have come out independently instead of being in a big box, but no new models have released for 40k and AOS. Even 30k only got the Night Lancer, which was lukewarmly received by the community because it's not a Assault Marines. But yeah,
Well, they're
hopefully
hard at
we
work. They had all their presses, all their 3D printers working on the 40k launch box. Now they got it all working on the AOS Cities of Sigmar. And after that, they got it all working on the 30k Epic series. The printers can only print so much.
for real.
Yeah, it's what's going on. So we have some other news to talk about. So let's jump right into this, where we got some Warhammer Plus news coming. Basically just telling us that new animations and more are coming up. I mean, still waiting on a few animations that they announced, if I recall, but they're basically telling us more are coming, more animations, more battle reports, more lore, bunch of other crap that are coming to the service.
Yes. Reminds me, I need to unsubscribe from Warhammer Plus.
You may unsubscribe.
I need to unsubscribe.
Oh, you
I
need
need
to
to see the new
unsubscribe.
models first before I subscribe again.
Well, I mean, you're gonna have to wait till what is it? March? No, June, right?
Yes.
Is when we'll find out when the next new models are.
Oh, maybe soon because it says that. Well, I didn't read the article, but I know the new year, the subscription ends on the 25th. So
Well, I mean, looking at the silhouettes of these models that they show in the video, it looks like a Kasrkin and a High Elf. Yeah, because it's got to be fantasy related. So a High Elf or I mean, it's got the stupid headdress. So I would assume a High Elf.
yeah, probably
But then it's
Luminous.
got a goblet, so it could be a vampire too. It's hard to
Is this
tell.
true? I hope it's a high elf. That'd be cool.
Yeah, and then Kasrkin is like given that silhouette. So that would be your that those are the models that will be teasing for the new Warhammer Plus.
Yes.
Seeing how this year's wasn't too great compared to the first year they did it. Because the first year you had the Vindicator, and I mean no one really cared about much of the Orc. And then this year it was a classic Chaos Terminator from like a artwork, and then some Chaos Sorcerer with like a little bunch of familiars, if I'm recalling correctly. Not a strong incentive. But yep, they promising animations. They're promising more stuff to come, as well as I guess it's gonna be in a later article. But I know they are updating their Warhammer Paint app as well, And then of course the 40k app end of the month, if I recall, is going to be all the paid features are going to be on Warhammer Plus as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I still don't really have an incentive to subscribe. Just don't think it's worth the $5 a month or however much it is.
That's fair.
But who knows? Like you, if the models are cool, maybe I will give it a shot for a year. But as of right now, they just need to keep building up that catalog, and then I'll jump in. So let's move on to some model news here. Usually we save this to the last, but given what game system it's in, we're just gonna briefly just talk about this. So Blood Bowl getting another model, getting the Dark Corsair, looking football player, and it's I mean, I recognize it. It's a Dark Corsair. Got the iconic Kraken helmet. I'm trying to remember the name of that character. The two blades. What'd you say?
Lokir Felhart.
Lokir Felhart. Thank you. I knew you'd remember. But unfortunately, this is a Blood Bowl model, so I really do not care. But it's not a bad looking model, which is, you know, the elves are pretty hard to mess up sometimes. But yeah, there we go. Not much comment on this one. It's there, Blood Bowl. I'm sure you're happy. Moving on, Sunday preview. So, I assume you're going to be picking this up day one. The army set of Cities of Sigmar.
Oh yeah, 100%. I am for sure pre-ordering that. Or yeah, I'll be picking it up. I'm not sure if I probably won't pre-order it from GW store. I'll probably get it from like a local store or a discount retailer. But yeah, for sure picking that up on launch.
Are you gonna get all these other little knickknacks with it?
Well,
I guess it comes with that. Never mind.
It comes with it, yeah. It comes with a book and all those other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, $200
Of course. That's most
I
of
wish
the launch
I'm probably gonna
boxes.
trade the book out with another with a book that has the regular cover because I really like the regular cover. I think the flag ones are kind of okay, which I mentioned before. So
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you'll find someone who would be really interested in the collector's edition Cities of Sigmar book.
yes,
There we are, getting lower metal people, the peasants, the knights, and of course the captain and his crew all in that box. City Sigmar book, which we talked about. Looks like we're getting a Vanguard Seraphon box. Looks like 10 warriors, 3 Croxigors, and I want to say an old blood on a connoisseur. Is that right?
yes, that is correct.
Okay. I played Lizards like before 8th edition Fantasy died, so I know a little bit, but I couldn't remember. Yeah, they're okay. Glad I got it all right. Horus Heresy, looks like we're getting the champion, the loyalist champion console. This is whatever. I remember we giving our thoughts on this. This is whatever.
Yeah, it's cute. Makes me excited what the trader one's gonna look like. Might pick that up from my word bears. But yeah, this one just kind of, he's a cool dude.
Well, the trader one will be the same thing, just a little more spikes.
It's funny because this guy, the Iron Halo, is already kind of spiky, so I guess even more spikes.
Even more spikes. That's how you know it's chaos. So we're getting that. Black Library. Getting the Warriors of the Free Guild book, soft cover. Board games are making their way back. We got Combat Arena, which looks like it's just the Blackstone Fortress people against an Amble. Little, just a little quick and play game. You wanna do it? I'm sure the rules aren't too hard to understand.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also bringing back some other games, re-release them in China. Blitzball, don't care. Combat Arena, I don't really remember Combat Arena, but I assume it's gonna be exactly like that. I already forgot the name of it. Combat Arena. No,
I think it's
it's the
Combat
same
Arena.
exact thing. Okay, and then Lost Relics, which I don't know. I've never played any of these games. You were working at GW at this time. Do you remember any of these?
Combat? No, because these were only released in Barnes and Noble and stuff,
Not GW stores.
not JLB stores. I think Blitzball is probably the best one because it's actually a good game from what I heard, like a good board game. Like Combat Arena and Lost Relics are just mediocre games with awesome minis in them.
Hmm. Oh, those are coming back. Releasing that. They got some keychain pins. You want to get that. And then Warhammer Plus. Getting a Masterclass Citadel and a Battle Report for some AOS. Oh, and then here's the article talking about the updated painting app. So this will be updated in 2 days, August 23rd. So you've used the painting app, right?
Yeah,
Its current iteration. What do you think of it?
I think it's great if you just want to know how do I paint this model or this color, this official color scheme using which paints. Because for me, even though I paint a lot, I don't have a good eye for what paint is good when it comes to like highlights and stuff or washes or what the best washes are, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even if you don't use official paint schemes, there's like how to paint a green, how to paint dark blue, how to paint light blue. Obviously, it's with all Citadel Games Workshop colors, but you could like search for on the minis catalog how to paint an Ulthway Guardian, and it'll tell you which colors are used, whether it's contrast or regular method. If you want to paint a skeleton, it will tell you which colors to use, and also lets you save which colors you have. So it's good to keep track of your painting collection. Don't be like me and accidentally buy two of the same paint.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, even though it's not a terrible thing, but it better to get different paints for variety rather than stock on the same paint. But if you could do that, it lets you save paint schemes. So, like, take notes. If you have a project, right, you could kind of categorize what's the base coats, what's the highlights, etc. So it's pretty good. Also, it's free, and actually free.
Yes. I do remember messing a little bit with it, but I never really got into it. I tried to use it to keep track of what paints I had, and then kind of just stopped. I just didn't use it after that. So maybe I'll give this updated version a shot and see if it's better than what it currently is. But that's coming around. Yep, that's it for that article. So all this stuff pre-order next week or this Saturday. Huge AOS release. And then pretty much the next two articles here, we got Heresy 30K to talk about. We're going to start off with John's thing, get more plastic Marines, but only their upgrade kits.
No, it's resin.
Oh, it's resin. Never mind, even worse.
It is resin.
Well, John, does this satisfy you? Do you like?
No, this is extremely whatever. Actually, let me find. Is it resin? Does it say it's plastic? But I'm pretty sure this is resin, considering everything else has been resin. So Yeah. I mean, I have enough bits along with 3D printed bits that I really don't need this. I mean, I guess if you want more bolt guns, and it has some of the special bolters that the Sons of Horus and Alpha Legion can use. So I guess if you really want to go by the book and get the exact pieces, I mean, the thing is, no one's gonna care if you don't have Bane Strike pattern bolters on your models. Even though, Heresy tries to be as big as possible. Usually bolter
I thought
patterns aren't.
30K was all about being lore accurate because it's a narrative game.
It is, right? But at the same time, who knows what a Bane Strike bolter looks like exactly? And who knows if it's the only pattern of Bane Strike bolter that exists? So, yeah, 30K is weird because it's simultaneously narrative and simultaneously, like, your dudes. Like, on one hand, you should probably paint your legions the correct quote-unquote color scheme. I mean, yeah, maybe pink word bearers or pink salamanders exist, but or pink word bearers or blue word bearers or I don't know, green blood angels. I'm sure you could concoct some fluff reason, but it's just kind of strange in the grand scheme of heresy. So you have that on one hand, but on the other hand, like, as long as it's a bolter, people probably won't care if it's the correct quote unquote pattern of bolter. But if Emperor forbid you use like a Primaris bolt rifle, then you'll get chewed out by the community for whatever reason. But yeah, with these upgrades, it's kind of a non-issue if you want to use Bane Strike pattern bolters. It's such a niche upgrade, and it's not even that strong. I mean, it's good. It essentially gives your bolters, I think, mini rending. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's neat. It's cute. I'm glad it exists, but it's not something that the community has necessarily been asking for. It's not something I've been asking for, and it doesn't really drum up hype. But like, okay, here's another resin upgrade kit. Even the power axes, right? Like, I guess these are the special Sons of Horus pattern power axes. But again, like, if you pay for the upgrade and you have a power axe, no one's gonna care that it's not the specific design depicted here for your Carceron power axes.
So the
So at the end of the
30K
day, like,
community.
it's a cute thing. I'm not mad like some people. Like, okay, cool, like, move it on.
So the 30K community. Are they only asking for new plastic infantry,
Yes,
aka assault marines,
pretty much the
terminators,
majority
whatever?
is asking for that because right now the only troop choice you can run in plastic are tactical marines.
Of course, the bread and
Sorry,
butter.
tactical marines and support marines, which are tac marines with separate weapons. But the support marines don't fulfill your compulsory choices, so you need a compulsory choice, which are tac marines, assault marines, or breachers. But you could also take recon marines, which aren't available in plastic. You could take scouts, but scouts are terrible. So if you want to take breachers and assault marines, and the spoilers actually, which are the close combat equipped tactical marines, there's no kit for that. You need to kit bash, you need to convert, you need to get the full resin kit from Forge World. And again, none of those are invalid, or invalid options, but it's just extra steps, like if you could hoard your bits box for chain swords if you wanted to spoiler squad. But what if you don't have a bits box? Or like, let's say you want to build an assault squad. Okay, well now you gotta you have to get the attack squad box, or you need to get bodies for your assault marine conversion. You need to find chain swords for them, and then you gotta find jump packs for them. That's a lot of extra steps that would be solved just getting a kit, because it is kind of daunting for a newer heresy player to be like, all right, man, you want to play 30K? Cool. You want not attack marines? You want assault marines because you're playing Night Lords or Blood Angels? Well, then here's a detailed instruction sheet on how to get assault marines for 30K, and it's like a whole one pager filled to the brim on how to build correct or cool looking assault marines, right? So we don't want that. We just want a kit to be out where you can just pick up and then bam, you get your assault marines or just spoilers and you're good to go.
Well, I mean, what are your thoughts? Why do you think they take so long, or are dragging their feet
So
to
actually,
produce
the
these?
reason, which I have heard from multiple sources over the internet, so take this with a grain of salt, but it's logical. So the reason is that the most common kit that Forge World sold during 1.0 were vehicles and dreadnoughts. People didn't really buy infantry all that much. Like, they didn't really buy assault marines. They didn't really buy breachers, which people usually converted those. But you can't really convert a Sicaran. You can't really convert a Contemptor Dreadnought or a Leviathan. So those are the kits that people bought the most of. So when 2.0 came out, logically, okay, let's look at our sales numbers from 1.0. What did people buy the most in resin? Okay, let's make these in plastic. And that's a thing, like, I don't think they made the wrong choice by making Contemptors, Leviathans, and the tanks in plastic. That's fine. I mean, I think there's an element of we're just too spoiled as 30k players of like, we get all this plastic, so we want more plastic. Now, on the flip side, right, I'd rather wish they spread it out where, you release let's say the Leviathan, because the Contemptor was in the Age of Darkness box. So say you release the Leviathan, and then you release some Assault Marines too, and the Sicaran. So then you have a balance of like plastic vehicles, dreadnoughts, and infantry, as opposed to what they're doing right now, which is just, you get your Leviathan and your Contemptor, and then you get like 1 billion tanks. And it also doesn't help that tanks are kind of terrible in 2.0. And by terrible in comparison to like infantry and dreadnoughts, right? So it's just kind of sucks that they're being pushed so hard despite being underwhelming on the tabletop. Like a Rhino, or let's say a Predator or a Sicaran. That's a good example. Sicaran is this cool tank. It's like $80, and it kind of does nothing in game except look cool because of the vehicle damage chart, because of its weapons. Tank weapons in general aren't that strong in 30k for balance purposes, which is fair, but it's not exciting when your $80 kick-ass looking Sicaran, in one turn of shooting kills like 4 Space Marines, like, and then dies next turn to 10 last cannons. So, yeah, long-winded answer of people bought a lot of tanks, so they made more tanks, but it just sucks that tanks aren't that good, and it's also an overabundance of just having a lot of tanks and not enough infantry and plastic. Again, it would be fine if it was balanced out, but this is where we are, where we have 1 billion plastic tanks and only 1 real infantry or plastic infantry kit in the troop slot.
Well,
yeah, you got Terminators, but you really want Assault Marines, Despoilers, and Breachers.
Well, I want to get your thoughts on this, because this actually just came to my mind. With the what's the word I'm looking for? Not erased. The wipeout of
oh yeah,
the current firstborns in 40k. Mm-hmm. How does that affect the 30k community? Because I assume 30k, for units that they don't have, and they don't, want to do the super conversion that you just explained. I assume they would just buy firstborn assault marines from 40k and then just use those. That's what I would assume. And
right,
they're going out, and the scouts are going out. So how does that hurt?
So it interestingly doesn't, for very specific reasons. The first off, like I mentioned earlier, scouts are just kind of garbage in game, and they don't really do anything. So and the models aren't that cool, right? If scouts had cool models, but they were terrible, I think people would be sad. But the models suck, and they're pretty terrible in game, so no one's really crying. I mean, a bunch of people were crying, but I think they're in the minority. None of the 30k players I play with, and I play with a lot of them, really cared about losing scouts because they're ugly and they're bad.
All right. Well, scouts were a bad example.
Probably come out.
Scouts were a bad example.
But it's a good point though. Like, scouts are a unit in 30k. They are their own entry choice, right? But you can buy them right now, and it's kind of hard to convert them actually. But thankfully, or I don't know if I say this hesitantly when I say thankfully, they're terrible, so no one cares. I wish they were good, and I wish they had cool models. But, so there's the scout issue. For Assault Marines, you do raise a good point. However, because 30k has such a specific aesthetic to it, which the 40k the 40k assault squad has a very 40k quote unquote aesthetic. Now, to be fair, this aesthetic 40k is moving away from the grill, the face grill Mark 7 Space Marine with this the iconic assault or the jump pack. You know what I'm talking about, like the rectangular one?
Yeah.
So that's a 40k pattern. That's not really common in 30k. 30k has there's two types of main 30k jump packs. The first one is the Mark 4 version, which is it's like a single thruster. It's like a box as opposed to two, like a giant rectangle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever see my Assault Marines, my Blood Angel ones, they have those. So there's that, and then there's the Mark 2 and / Mark 3 jump pack, which are two turbines. And if you see the 40k Raptors, that's what it is. It's a Mark 2 jump pack. It's like two engines, like circular or cylindrical engines. So when people think Assault Marines, on 30k, that's what they visualize. So people don't really use Assault Marines in 30k, the 40k ones. I mean, no, they some do. I will say, I've seen a lot of conversions where they take those jump packs, put them in Mark 6 bodies, give them chain swords. I personally am not a fan of that. I mean, if I see that across the table and it's painted, I won't care. I'll probably compliment them if it's a good paint job, but I wouldn't do that for me because, for me, the 30k jump pack is the Mark 4 and Mark 2. Just visually, that's what I associate. I associate the 40k one with 40k, even though that it's being phased out, and Primaris are gonna get a different jump pack as we see on the Shrike model and on the Space Marine 2 trailer. So because that jump pack isn't really 30k, doesn't have a 30k aesthetic, people aren't really using that. So people aren't that upset that those are going away, especially because we know Assault Marines are coming for 30k because they showed those renders in Adepticon. Now, those are coming probably not in December anymore, probably next year because of the delays, but at least we know where they're coming. Now, that's for Assault Marines. The real loss, I think, and actually, before I move on, this kind of sentiment I'm bringing up for Assault Marines works the same for land speeders, because 30k has the Javelin and the Proteus, which look the Javelin looks very different from the 40k land speeder, but the Proteus is similar. It's just kind of stripped down. So the Proteus is essentially, I mean, you guys can look this up, but think of it as like a land speeder with no armor plates. It's just the engine and some seats and the weapons. It's a very like old school look from Rogue Trader. So those are the 30k land speeders. So the 40k one, again, it doesn't have the 30k aesthetic. That one I'm more inclined to use in my army because it's not as different of like if you look at the Proteus and the 40k land speeder, they look pretty similar. One just has less armor plates than the other. It's not like the Mark II jump pack and the Mark 7 jump pack, which look quite different. So yeah, it's the same thing though, that the aesthetic for the 30k land speeder is different enough from the 40k land speeder, where people don't really use the 40k land speeder. But again, some people, rightfully so, are still sad because they did use that, and it is a cheaper model than the Proteus and the Javelin, right? But the real loss is the box knot, because the box knot has nothing that looks like it, and the box knot is in 30k. We see box knots in the novels. Now, it's still not as iconic in the collective consciousness of the 30k community or the 30k world as the Contemptor and the Leviathan, because when the Contemptor came out, it was like, oh, this is a better dreadnought than the box knot, and it's a heresy thing. So people associate, when people say 30k dreadnought, they think Contemptors and Leviathans. But box knots are still in 30k, and box knots are quite good in 30k. They're a super cheap weapons platform that hits on twos and has quad blast cannons. So that is a loss, and that really has no replacement, because earlier I talked about Assault Marine Scouts and Land Speeders. We have 30k models for those. I'm sure Scouts will come out eventually. Assault Marines we know are coming, and the Land Speeders already exist and are probably going to get plastic models like the Javelin and the Proteus. The box knot, I know I mean, it was a plastic model, and there's no 30K equivalent box knot because the Contemptor is quite different, right? It's a different unit, different design, different vibe to it. So the box knot is kind of a loss, and it does suck, but if I really wanted one, I could just get a 3D printed one, to be quite honest with you. So it's not that much of a loss for me personally, but I understand why people are upset about that. It is an iconic thing. I mean, you and I grew up on seeing those in the battlefield. Now, for 40K, right, we have the Ballistus, which essentially it's its replacement, and I think is a better model anyway, better design anyway. But for 30K, well, you can't use a Ballistus because it's too big. It's the aesthetic is too different. It looks like a Redemptor, you know. So yeah, there's kind of just no box knot. So out of everything, that's the real loss in 30K is a box knot. You can't buy it anymore, right? At least officially. You can get some on eBay. You can get 3D printed ones or third party ones, but you can't get that anymore. And I doubt they'll remake it because it was a plastic kit. So.
Well, that was good insight into that because
Yeah.
I
Those are
remember.
good points, right?
Yeah.
Especially because they wiped those firstborn.
Well, of course we gotta HDify them.
Yes, absolutely. I would kill for HDified Mark 7 Tac Squad for Bad Ab War whenever that gets redone. That would be cool.
Well, it was a good detour to talk through. We got some more stories to go through, more 30K to talk about. And that is your Demon Engines coming in. You tell me. Well, I assume the Demon Engines are not doing too well, seeing how I think you said vehicles are pretty bad in 30K right now.
However, my friend, Demon Engines aren't vehicles; they're monstrous creatures.
Oh, okay then.
And monstrous creatures in 30K are pretty strong. So thankfully, Demon Engines are quite strong in Horus Heresy. But yeah,
Now,
so
is everything? I assume everything's not a Demon Engine on the Heretic sides, right? Or is everything a Demon Engine?
So everything in this PDF, I'm assuming we're talking about the PDF now, right?
Yeah.
That they released. Yeah. So they're all Demon Engines. So they released the Kaitan, which is the Lord of Skulls with legs.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Brass Scorpion, super iconic. We got the Blood Slaughterer, and we got the Decimator. All of these were legends in 40K. So yeah, they're in, well, not legends, but not usable in official tournaments, which probably is at this point is equivalent to being legends because it seems that tournaments are following that ruling, or sorry, third party tournaments are following that ruling. But anyways, yeah, so yeah, they're all pretty good, and so I'm not gonna go into specific details about these demon engines. Essentially, they're all close combat monsters, and they also add some special cyberthurgic powers for your Trader Mechanicum Tech Priest to use. I was disappointed. I was getting excited about this because I'm like, ooh, I can give my robots +1 weapon skill with this new cyberthurgic right. And I realized, oh wait, no, it only works for demon engines, not regular robots. But with that said, yeah, I really like these demon engines because they're well designed, and by that I mean, so Knights in 30K are pretty terrible. And the reason why Knights in 30K are terrible is that they died at Dreadnoughts. Because Knights in 30K usually are weapon skill 4. Now, if you play a Knight army, there's ways to upgrade your Knights to weapon skill 5 or 6. But if you allied one in your army, like your Mech army, your Solar Ox, or your Space Marine army, there's no upgrade. So you're stuck with a weapon skill 4 Knight. Now, the Knight has pretty scary melee weapons, but they died at Dreadnoughts because they are weapon skill 4, and Dreadnoughts are weapon skill 5, which means you're hitting the Dreadnought on 5s, and they're hitting you on 3s. On top of that, Knights don't have a lot of brutal weapons in 30K, in melee. So, our brutal weapon is think of it as like a 40K weapon with multiple damage. 30K uses the 7th edition rules, so weapons don't deal multiple damage per wound, they only do 1.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, models usually have less wounds. For example, a Praetor, which is a Chapter Master in 30K, has 3 wounds. I think in 40K, they have like 5 or something.
They would have 5 wounds.
Yeah,
For a
right.
normal character that's not in like Terminator armor or Primarified.
There we go, right? So not a lot of wounds, but also no way of doing multiple damage except for instant death and brutal weapons. So knights don't have brutal weapons, so they don't really. Even if you hit a dreadnought, you'll do maybe 1 wound to it, hitting it on a 5. I mean, they have some brutal weapons, but not all, right? So, well, the dreadnought will hit you and will do like a bunch of damage if it has chain fist because the dreadnought chain fist has armor bane. So that's why knights are terrible. However, in melee. However, demon engines fix those issues. So, like, for example, the brass scorpion, weapon skill 5. That's awesome. It hits dreadnoughts on 4s, and dreadnoughts hit it on 4s. I also noticed that the Kaitan and the brass scorpion are vehicles. Now, thankfully, they're also close combat monsters. So the issues that vehicles have, which is getting shot to death by last cannons. I mean, it's still a problem. You don't want your brass scorpion to be targeted by 10 last cannons. It's probably gonna get destroyed, right? Or damaged.
Anything that gets shot by 10 last cannons would probably get destroyed.
Say again?
Is it anything that gets hit by 10 last cannons will most likely get destroyed?
Very true. Very true. But thankfully, the brass scorpion and the Kaitan have an invul save, which helps a lot. Vehicles don't have invul saves generally, and on top of that, they are melee monsters, so they don't really care about crew shaken results. Crew shaken, which is a damage result, means you only hit on 6s. Well, they don't care because it only applies to shooting. It doesn't apply to melee. So, but back to my original point, the brass scorpion's weapon skill 5, hitting rednoughts on 4s, and its claws are brutal. They where is it? Yeah, they're I need to go back and look at what its weapon is called. Hell Crusher claws. Yep, they are brutal too and sunder. So it can go toe to toe with dreadnoughts. Same for the Kaitan. Kaitan has a brutal 3 weapon, right? Excuse me. However, the Blood Slaughterer doesn't have brutal weapons, but it's cheap. It's 110 points. That's way cheaper than a dreadnought. Decimator is 265. That has brutal weapons. And weapon skill 5. Bloodthrower also has weapon skill 5. So, yeah, they kind of... And going back to my first point, these are well designed because, they're supposed to be close combat monsters, and the rules team realized that to make a close combat monster, you need at least weapon skill 5. That way you're hitting dreadnoughts and elite melee units on 4s, not 5s. And you have brutal weapons, which means you have a good shot at beating dreadnoughts in close combat because dreadnoughts always take their brutal weapons with them. So I'm pretty happy with this. It kind of shows me that the rules team is learning from the game and not just slapping things around and hoping for the best. They're actually understanding that, yeah, if they want to make a close combat monster, we need to make sure that the rules reflect it in these ways. And they did that. So I'm pretty happy. And also, it gives 30k players a chance to use their demon engines that were effectively legends in 40k. So if you have brass scorpions, if you have decimators, bloodslaughterers, Kaitans, you can use them in 30k now, which is awesome. Now, it goes without saying these are trader only. So if you're Imperial Fist player, well, you got to be a trader of Imperial Fist if you want to use these things. But overall, I'm pretty happy. I wish we had more rules for more demons. Probably got pushed back because of the delays, but I don't know, maybe we'll see a book at Nova previewed. But
maybe.
Yeah, overall this is great. I like it. Am I getting any of this? No, I have enough on my plate.
What? You're not gonna get 3 brass scorpions?
I am not gonna get 3 brass scorpions because they're resin monstrosities that I don't want to build, and also I don't want to store them anywhere. And I actually have a Kaitan, but it's painted in Black Legion colors, so it's just gonna look pretty. Maybe I'll use it as a Chaos Knight or something. But anyways, yeah, none of these designs really speak to me enough that I wanna immediately build one. So, but that said, I'm happy that they exist. They're good for the game and they're well designed.
Well, it sounds like they're good for the game. I would be, very furious if a little dreadnought was destroying a Titanic knight.
It's pretty hilarious. I saw it in a game where a knight charged in. It's like, oh, you hit the dreadnought on 5s, and you hit once, and you dealt 2 wounds because you only have brutal to weapon. Meanwhile, dreadnought claps back with like 4 attacks, hits you on 3s, hits probably, I think it hit everything, and it had a chain fist, so armor, bane, everything. Even if it doesn't have a chain fist, it's wounding you on 4s with strength 9. So, yeah,
Brutal.
brutal.
All right, well, that's it for that. You mentioned it earlier, just a few seconds ago, but Nova is coming,
Yeah.
and to go off of the event, they're giving us a orc model here. I'm seeing if they give us a name. I don't know. The Ard Boy Big Boss. That's what I'm gonna call him. Pretty cool looking model. I don't really care too much for the orc aesthetics, especially the AOS one. But other than that, it's a pretty decent looking model. I do like the chainmail that it has. The aesthetic of the old black orc design from Fantasy. It's a solid model, even though I don't really like orc models that much. But I don't really care about the model too much because we are getting a preview. And you know what that means, John.
Predictions.
It's time for some predictions.
Before that, let me rant about this model really quick.
Sure.
Positive rants though. So one, I echo the sentiment with you, Matt. It doesn't really do anything for me in terms of like, ooh, great model. I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. And I actually like the Iron Jaw orc aesthetic, but this model isn't exciting enough in itself to make my hobby heart tingle, right? Mm-hmm. However, what this model represents definitely makes me excited, which is the fact that we're getting new Iron Jaws more than just the giant boar rider thing we were previewed a few months ago. I mean, I think last week we talked about rumors that I heard about an Iron Jaw wave of models, and here we go, Ard Boy leader, right? Ard Boy lieutenant, which means rumors probably true that we're getting new Ard Boys, which is great because Ard Boys need new models because they're old. So, yeah, new Iron Jaws is awesome. Iron Jaws is one of those cool AOS armies. I had an army at one point, and I gave it to my friend, and I love that army. It was a very cool looking army because they have really cool looking models, but it was limited by a lack of models. You had your basic troops, you had your heavy infantry, which were the brutes, you had your cavalry, which was the Gorgontas, you had your wizard on foot, which was the what's it called, the weird boy, I think, and you had your priest, which was the guy with the bones. He had like two clubs holding up. He was holding up, and then you got your mega boss on foot, and then you got your mega boss on Maw Crusher, and that was it. No range infantry, no light cav, no heavy cav, no super heavy cav, no. Yeah, that was kind of it. It felt very limited as an army. So to see them get new models is awesome because orcs are a big part of Warhammer, and while Games Workshop did try to revamp the orc aesthetic with Cruel Boys, I don't think it stuck as much. People didn't really like the whole Lord of the Rings style almost of like creepy, skinny, scary orcs. I think Warhammer orc fans much prefer the big, bulky, muscly soccer hooligan orcs, right?
Right.
So, and Iron Jaws are that for Age of Sigmar. And this guy, while he is an okay model in my opinion as a model, the fact that he will herald in even more Iron Jaws is hype.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Well, might as well put our predictions out there, shall we?
Right.
Let's start from the bottom up. I think that'll be the best way. Blood Bowl, do we even want to put a prediction in?
I don't know. Okay, here we go. Ultra specific prediction. Something that with minimal conversion can be used in Age of Sigmar. Bam.
With minimum conversion. I feel like that's cheating, but that's fine.
Yeah, again, literally nothing else I can think of. The game feels so complete, to be quite honest with you.
All right. I'm just gonna throw a wild answer out there because I really don't care. We're gonna get Deepkin. We're gonna get a Deepkin themed team out there.
Actually, yeah, fish people would be interesting because there are fish people in Warhammer Fantasy, so not impossible for fish people to be in Blood Bowl.
That will be my guess. Underworlds. I feel like we're gonna get a rehash team here.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna hold out and say completely new, unheard of design again, like the pirate ogre and I don't know. Try to remember, but it's been so long since I looked at Underworld's models. But something like the pirate ogre or the wolf riders, right? That was new and exciting at the time. Not something we've seen like the witch elves or the bone reaper stuff. Yeah, something completely new and out there. That's my prediction. So we'll see who's right.
I'm gonna go
I
with
think Matt
Night
has a great
Haunt.
chance of winning, but we'll see. Say
I'm
again.
gonna go with Night Haunt.
Night Hunt, okay.
I think they're due for another team. And let's see who. I mean, everyone has beef with undead, so it's pretty hard to pick. Trying to remember what was the last team we got. Do you remember?
I think it was Night Hunt actually.
Was it Night Haunt?
Yeah.
Well then, crap. Never mind. It's not Night Haunt. Now I'm lost. I don't know who to pick.
I don't know like who else is there. Like I don't even know.
It's gonna be one brand new team. It's gonna be like the Frankenstein monsters that they tried to do. It's gonna be a team like that versus uh, uh the Nurgle guys. What are they called? The Blight
Rock
Kings.
Runners. Okay.
That's what I'm gonna go with. A brand new team that's gonna be a sub faction of something, and then the Blight Kings. Because why not? Warcry. I don't think we're
Ooh.
at the year, so I wouldn't expect a 2-player box set at this time. But I could be wrong.
I because we know that we're getting that human team, so I think they'll pair that with something. So I think it's going to be a 2-player box, but I agree. I don't think it's going to be a new edition ish with a new rule book. I think it'll just be another 2-player box with no rule book, less terrain than the core set, but 2 teams. One of which will be the human team, and for the other team, I will guess Iron Jaws.
Iron Jaws, okay.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the Cities of Sigmar. I think it's gonna be Cities of Sigmar. And I'm just gonna say a random chaos team, chaos barbarians, marauders, whatever.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's how it most of the time it goes. There's gonna be some chaos themed link to it. Old World.
Plastic Bretonian Pegasus Knight slash either the unit or the character, but a plastic one of a Pegasus riding Bretonian.
Okay, plastic Pegasus Knights slash characters. I think they're gonna show. See, my heart tells me I want to see more Tomb Kings. That's what I want to see. I want to see because I wasn't really too excited with the revamp of the Tomb Prince, Tomb King that they showed off. I thought it was but that's my bias showing because I was have the old army, but I think we're gonna see some Bretonians.
It has to be Tomb Kings because that's the starter set. Or the launch box.
I don't think they're gonna show off the starter set.
But it's gonna be Tomb
Bretonians.
Kings related. Not necessarily the starter set, but Tomb Kings related.
I'll go
So
with Bretonians and Tomb Kings. model releases, and then I don't think they're gonna say anything about the rules.
Okay. What do you think the Team Kings one's gonna be? Because my Bretonnian guess is the Pegasus Knights. Ushabti? Ooh, plastic Ushabti.
Plastic. I mean, anything really. Ushabti would be cool. The giant scorpion would be cool. Nah, screw it. I want to see a casket of souls.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, it has to be a resin that's or a metal model. It's gonna be plastic. That I think those are good choices. Ushabti or Casket of Souls.
So we'll see where we go there. I think they're gonna show both Tomb Kings and Bretonnians. But that's my predictions there. What's next? We got we'll skip Horus Heresy. We'll go straight to AOS. We got what? You're saying Iron Jaws, right?
I'm saying Iron Jaws and Flesh Eater Court, specifically that unit of ghouls in knightly gear, like halberds and armor and stuff.
Bulls and I think I'm just gonna piggyback off you and say Iron Jaws, given the model that they're giving out.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be Iron Jaws and the ghouls. I think that those are going to be their AOS reveals.
I'm not gonna hitch my wagon to the Flesh Eater cult, but I'll
Okay.
hitch my wagon to the Iron Jaws. I think.
Okay. I'm going to say both.
I think we'll get a character and maybe 2 units that they're gonna tease.
Okay.
They're gonna show like this model right here is part of this group, and they're only gonna show one model from each of the new units. All right, the big two. I'm gonna go. Actually, we're gonna go with 40K first because I think 40K is gonna be pretty simple and underwhelming. I think they're just going to announce the codexes and show off the Space Marine updated models such as Jump Pack Marines and whatever else they were phasing out, new scouts and stuff. That's my prediction for 40K. I don't know what your prediction would be.
I think I will echo that. I think it's probably going to be Space Marines and the Codex announcements, but I for sure we'll say it's going to be Space Marine. The rest of the models, the ones they were going to reveal if Space Marines won the campaign.
Yep, that's
Assault Marines, Devastator, or not Devastator, Assault Marines, Assault Terminators, Command Squad, stuff like that. Multi-kit Dreadnought.
It's a pretty underwhelming prediction for 40K, but that's the most likely thing that's gonna happen, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Since we haven't had the codexes announced yet for Space Marines and Tyranids, even though, since they're supposed to be the first books that come out. So it only makes sense that we saw what the Tyranids are getting. Now we're gonna see what the Space Marines are getting and the release date of the codexes.
Yeah.
All right, 30K. A little more interesting, I would say. A little more. Who knows what they're gonna do, given their recent track record. I'm just gonna throw my guess out there, since I'm not in touch with 30K. Another tank. Another plastic.
Killing me. Yeah, it could be more Sicarans, but I will say I'll be optimistic this time. First things first, the next Primarch they will announce, which is Lorgar Ascended. That's the first announcement. Second one is they're gonna announce the next box set, which is gonna be the one with the Mark III Marines, or even it's not even a box set, maybe a box set, but more. Either way, they're gonna announce new Mark III Marines in plastic and use scale, the plastic Deo Dreadnought, and rules for demons. We'll get an update on that whenever that's coming up. But they're gonna talk about Demons of the Ruined Storm use, and they're gonna announce plastic Solar Ox.
There's a lot of hope right
Mm-hmm.
there that I'm
Yep.
seeing. A lot of hopium.
Yep. I'm gonna go to the hopium.
All right, I'm writing. I wrote all this down. So when the predictions come, I'm gonna bring up this list and we're gonna see how right we
Yep.
were. I mean, we're always right, but we'll see how good we are.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, we won't be able to talk about this news until 2 weeks since it's on August 30th, and we film these on a Monday, so
Yes.
it'll be a while before we touch news on this. But yeah,
Yes.
that's our predictions. Hopefully, we nail it yet again.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all the news I got. All the articles I have from the official GW. I don't know if you have anything else you want to pull up.
I think that's it.
All right, then. Well, we can quickly go into the hobby rants. I'll just start off. Boulder Gate 3 has completely taken over my life.
That is totally understandable.
I've 55 hours in it right now. Just got to Act 2, so I've got a long ways to go. But I feel terrible, so I'll most likely be hobbying yet again. Probably tomorrow when I get home from work, just so I feel like I've accomplished something, because this is just taking over my life right now.
That is quite fair.
But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been slacking on my hobbying, but I'm enjoying my free time that I have. What about you? What have you been up to, John?
I played a 30k game, played my word bears against my buddies Imperial Fists. I defeated Stone Gauntlet in melee. Stone Gauntlet is a rite of war where your Phalanx Warders, which are Imperial Fists with 4-up Storm Shields, get to reroll their invulnerable saves if they're next to each other, which they always are. So I managed to defeat that with my 800 point unit of Galvor back with a Librarian for Biomancy and the Rite of War that gives them extra weapon skill. So that was a crazy game. And we played one of the objectives or missions from the new campaign book. And this one, which was great for me, there was one objective in the middle, and you have 4 turns to hold it. And I have one giant 800 point scoring unit, so that definitely was good for me. And I secured the victory. But that was it. I've just been painting some. Well, I built some Shatterpoint stuff, and I'm painting my. I finished the intercessors. I just need to do the transfers on them and some Terminators. I'm painting the Leviathan Terminators in my Red Scorpion scheme. So just been doing that in terms of hobby. Nothing too crazy. Did not get Baldur's Gate yet though. I'm waiting for it to come out on PS5.
That's next week.
That is next week.
Well, I know. Speaking of, well, technically, I guess in 2 weeks, will you have your painting projects done before the next box comes out?
I think so. I just need to paint this, a lieutenant, and a Hellblaster squad, and I'll feel pretty happy of what I am when I start the Cities of Sigmar stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had your tenacity to do that.
Oh man.
So yeah, because like I've said before many times on the cast, I like to just play the game. The hobby stuff kind of comes just second.
That is fair.
But yeah, I didn't get to play any 40k because California was going through a heat wave, and it was, since I play in a garage, an open door garage with no AC. Yeah, it was like 90 degrees at
Oof.
8 o'clock. I'm like, I don't want to be doing this right now. I do not want to be playing in 90-degree weather. So we kind of just took a break, but this week, even though we survived our hurricane, it's gonna be right back up in the 80s
Oh yeah.
starting tomorrow.
Back to the heat wave.
Yeah, so, but it won't be as bad, not till it gets to the weekend, which is fine because I don't board game on the weekend, so it's fine. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be probably doing another 40k game this week, and then the next following week probably get my first game of the new Shadows of Brimstone that I kickstarted.
There you
Probably
go.
get a campaign going on there. But yeah, that's that. Anything else you want to add?
I think that's it.
All right then. I'd like to thank everyone who made it to the end, and we'll see you next time.
There, everyone.